Good afternoon, folks. Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. It's a Friday afternoon. Just finished round one. Took me a little longer than I had wanted to. Just busy week and lots of communication with CB's Bill on rules, and busy week at work, and also preparing for a bike race this Sunday. So here we go, end of round one. And the Russians decided to attack Baltic State and East Poland round one, with the addition of a couple new units that are now on the Eastern Front. So they captured those territories. They lost a couple of units, and that's now a 5 NO bonus for the Russians. So I kind of like this strategy. They did not attack Poland, and just something I decided to try new to protect the Russian destroyer, which is this starts off in the C-Zone 20. If it remains there because of the proxy war that's happening in Finland, the Germans can sink it next turn. So if it moves into this territory, if the Germans attack it, that means they are declaring war on Russia. So it is safe. So little nuance there, a little point out to everybody. Now, the other thing that happened, or many things that happened, is every game it seems to be quite a bit different. The Russians rolled, 14 for their economy on turn one, and so did the Americans. So that's kind of almost middle, right down the road. But what is different in every game is rolling for the territories and rolling for the French ships. When France falls, as we know, we roll for the territories. They either go Vichy or Free French. And this is what happened here in Northern Africa. The light blue represents the Vichy, and the dark blue is the Free French. So, of course, Syria went Vichy, and some of the territories down here you can see. And it was interesting, the dice seemed to get hot either side. Over here, now Saigon going Vichy is good for the Japanese, because if they are going to be setting up for the Calcutta Crush, they can non-com and land their planes in Saigon on turn one. French Indochina did remain Free French, so that's a French person the Japanese will eventually have to attack or kill. Now over here, something interesting happened off of Normandy. So quite a few of the boats that were off of Normandy did go Vichy. However, Normandy was liberated by the British on their first turn. So these boats actually were Vichy, and they flipped back to Free French. And the British decided to do that because it was a battleship, a destroyer, and a transport. Now the Germans are going to have to probably take that out next turn. So that's a little problem for the Germans. However, they rolled cold on the battle when they went into C-Zone 23 here. A British battleship survived and a transport. So that was a problem for the Germans. However, the battle up here off of Scotland, I think the British might have had one hit returning fire. So sometimes the dice are finicky. And that's what happened there, and the Germans inherited a Norwegian coastal battleship, so they'll take that. And the Germans also inherited, I think, a destroyer from the Danish fleet. So they'll take that, and they built a couple coastal submarines there. They were able to annex or capture Oslo and Narvik. And basically, also in turn one, they also took Czechoslovakia. And the Italians, the poor Italians, they went into Greece with 5 units, and the Greece rolled hot. And yeah, so the Italians killed all of the Greeks, but the Greeks killed all of the Italians. So Greece was annexed by the British, but currently the Germans are going to have to go in next turn and take it. So that's kind of a wrinkle there. In the Northern Africa regions, the British and the Italians both built an IC. Actually, don't have it on the... Forgot to put it on the map. This happens when you play solo. the minor IC here in Tobruk and also in Cairo. The British moved their whole fleet into the Med, which is a sort of a typical standard move I've been doing and build an air base. So they've got the scramble. Currently, the Italians have a scramble from Taranto, and they've got 15 units there, and the British can attack them next turn. If they hit them with everything, another 15 units, and they can also bring in their bombers from London. So do the British want to take a stab at the Italian fleet next turn? That'll be interesting. They also inherited a Free French transport, which actually started out, I think it was here, and moved down here to for safety. Over here, the Americans were able to lend-lease the KMT a tank, and the CCP did go into Chahar and Shanxi, and the KMT were able to take back Shanxi from the Japanese. The Japanese looks like they are setting up for a Calcutta crush. Now, I'm not sure what the Allies are going to do, if they are going to go Pacific or the Atlantic, and then sometimes, depending on what happens with all of the Free French Vichy territories, it is sometimes determined what the Allies might do or not do. So we'll see what happens here. Now, the Japanese have kind of shown their hand what their intentions are. And you can see I've used the new markers from HBG. So the Japanese did non-com 3 additional units down, 2 into Guangxi and 1 down into Saigon. So these denote 2 paratransports are acting together. So they would attack and defend it at 2. And that just denotes that. So the next turn they will be removed and they will go back to being operating as a destroyer. The Americans built a military base in the Philippines and in Hawaii and built a couple Marines back in San Francisco. Now over here, the Anzac, they liberated Dutch New Guinea, and the British transport came down from Hong Kong and grabbed the Anzac from Singapore and dropped them off in Sumatra. So they annexed Sumatra. Over here in Canada, the repaired British battleship and Canadians built. So there's a small little fleet happening here off of Canada. But look at this fleet here. That's going to be problematic for the Allies to deal with. So does this mean the Allies go Atlantic and start building some more navy? They've already got a small navy being built here, so that might be the situation. The battle for the Graf Spee, the British were lucky. The Graf Spee came and took out the lone South African transport, and the British came in after with their 2 destroyers and sank it on 1 round of combat, so that was lucky there. The British also, from Calcutta, brought their transport over and annexed Iran. So you got to put 2 infantry there. And pretty standard build. The British did build a light or medium tank over here in Calcutta. And the FEC built 5 infantry, 2 at a military base, and another 3 in Calcutta. So the black chips represent 5 infantry. So that is it for the end of round 1. I'm not sure what the Germans are going to do. Well, they're probably going to finish taking Western Europe here, Normandy and Bordeaux. And they are going to take Greece and take Bulgaria, which they have not annexed Bulgaria yet, and probably build another 6 units here. The Germans, I think, have about 80 IPP to spend next turn. And they will probably clean up this British fleet here, or this Free French fleet sitting off of the south of England, and probably take care of this British transport that's sitting off of Bordeaux. And the Japanese are probably, well, they did build their 3 naval transports, so they will be probably staging everybody here off of Siam next turn, ready to go to the Calcutta crush or maybe spring out into these money islands. So that's going to be sort of telling what the Japanese are going to do at the end of turn 2. So stay tuned, folks. Thanks for watching.